song of meditation tonight will be number 337. If you'd like to mark that in your books.
In the auditorium class tonight, we have been reading the 22nd Psalm and looking at many of the thoughts that can be brought from it concerning the crucifixion of Christ as described 700 years before it occurred. Christ is suspended between heaven and earth on the cross. His physical body and its pain and his perception of that body are all described. He looks out at the audience around him, many of them the leaders of the people. He hears their cries against him and their slurred remarks. But he does not see them as human beings. He sees them as vicious animals, like lions and bulls and dogs, who are there to tear him apart. He makes a promise to his Father that when this is over, that he would go among the people and teach them. And in this verse 27, all the ends, the whole earth will acknowledge the Lord and return to him. People from every nation will bow down before him. For the Lord is king. He rules all the nations. Christ envisions the time when people will come to their spiritual senses and will obey the gospel. They will come to him because they understand the richness of his sacrifice and that it was done for them out of love. He said, let the rich of the earth feast and worship. Let all mortals, those born to die, bow down in his presence. And the time will come in judgment, we will all bow down before God. But especially in the last two verses, as we think of the invitation of the Lord tonight, we see the Great Commission. Future generations will also serve him. Our children will hear about the wonders of the Lord. His righteous acts will be told to those yet unborn. They will hear about everything he has done. And when does that take place? It is taking place now. It began on the day of Pentecost when Peter and the apostles stood up and began to teach the wonderful words of life. How the Lord had been crucified and the people cried out, what shall we do? And they were told to be baptized, that their sins might be washed away. And 3,000 that day were baptized. And ultimate millions have been baptized since that day. And as long as the earth stands, the church will be present here to glorify God. Christ and I will build it, saved or added to it, and then given the commission to go in all the world and preach the gospel. And that's the reason he can talk about future generations will also serve him. For we parents of our generation are producing the children of their generation, and they do theirs of the ensuing generation. So preaching the truth is an ongoing thing. From generation to generation, the word does not change. The message does not change. Man's nature does not change. So our hearts can be melted by the sacrifice of Christ and his love. And our sins can be washed away with that blood of Christ. And we can rise up as his family and praise his name. That's our mission. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And let that word continue. If there are any tonight here in need of prayer from the church or need to obey the gospel, will you come?